Greetings, commanders, and welcome back to another Warpath video. My name is Eagle, and in this video we are gonna be breaking down update 4.33, which is the latest update that just landed on Warpath. And in this update we have some big news. We have a new officer, we have like a new kind of event happening at the bistro, and we also have a new major event that is happening very soon, which you can win this base skin right over here. This badass base skin kind of represents the king of the jungle, King Kong, but it's also a very cool base skin that I would like to give a shot and try to acquire once that event drops down in a few days. And we'll have a specific video to cover that event and tell you exactly how to play it and how to get the best rewards out of it, even if you are a free-to-play player. Now, besides this event, we have a new officer that has been introduced to the game. This officer is probably one of the strongest officers right now in the current meta, and there are so many reasons for that. We're gonna break this down in this video, and we're gonna tell you exactly what are the initial pairings that we think this officer would be best fit for, without any further combat testing, just from judging from our experience and based on this officer's actual skills and kind of statistics. So this officer name is Saber of the Nation. This is an artillery-based officer. Now, I've been whining for a while that we required more artillery officers because of the amount of artillery units that are being used of high demand. So we're actually wanting more artillery officers and not just secondary pairs, random secondary pairs, in order to actually have a solid artillery like kind of roster. Now, this artillery officer here is actually the one that we need. Now let's go ahead and go through his skills over here. So we have the first skill, which is heavy bombardment. This skill deals a damage coefficient of 1200. So far it's normal, but it increases this damage coefficient by 100 for every map grid between you and the target, which means that if you're fighting a base and you're firing at full range for an artillery unit, which is, for example, howitzer, that means that's 4 map grids in between your unit and the target. So that's an extra 400 damage, which makes it 1600 damage coefficient for this specific skill, which is so far the highest damage coefficient within the game. If you pair this officer with another officer that increases those map grids or the firing radius, which is Shevchenko, then basically that damage will be 1700 damage coefficient, and that is a lot of damage for a single tactical skill. Now, this skill over here, as we know, it's probably one of the highest damages right now in the game. Adding to that, of course, Shevchenko's increasing of skill damage for the unit, so that it will even deal more damage, which is kind of insane. So these two pairings are absolutely dominant in the field. Let's go ahead and talk about his second skill. It increases the damage resistance by 15%. Not much of a really like kind of a solid skill, because you know howitzers or any other artillery unit is extremely squishy, so increasing its damage resistance is not gonna really help out. It's gonna help out a little bit, but not that much. The third one over here is actually very interesting because it increases the damage dealt by artillery to tanks by 20%. So when you're for example fighting tanks, any tank unit, like for example mediums, heavies, super heavies, any tank classified unit, then you're gonna be able to deal 20% extra damage to them, which is kind of very interesting. So usually you're fighting tanks with those with your howitzers, you're not gonna be following, for example, like whatever, like their enemies' howitzers and fighting their enemies' howitzers. Usually the fights in the field happen between howitzers and tanks, like artillery units and tanks. So this is actually a very useful skill, especially when it comes to field fighting. The fourth one is actually very interesting. It will increase the artillery damage by an extra 30%, but also when they are only like below 50% durability. Now this is very interesting because as much as I like the overall kind of distribution of his skills, this one over here is kind of tricky, because this means that your howitzers are actively fighting within the field, and they've already lost 0.5% or 50% of their durability. Now this is good when you're actually fighting back, like for example a medium or a light tank is trying to follow up your howitzers, and you're trying to counter them with your howitzers, so you're fighting back those tanks. Then that means this is a good skill. Otherwise I don't see this like being used in much scenarios, because when your howitzers is like less than 50% durability, then you're definitely going to be wanting to return them back to the base, because you want them to heal up full capacity and then go back to the fight. But this is definitely one of those tricky skills. It's very situational rather than actual like useful all the time. Now the cool thing about this officer is when you awaken them. We know that his second and fourth skill aren't really that super useful, But when you awaken this officer, this is where he shines in the field, because every single attack that this officer does has a 30% chance to activate his tactical skill, which is the first one that does 1700 damage when paired with Shevchenko, and that is a lot. That is a lot of damage coefficient, and that's a lot of times you can fire that one up. And the reason why this is a lot is, think about it this way. Every single attack happens in a duration of 1 second. That means in 10 seconds, statistically speaking, you have 3 times chance of firing up that skill, and because the prep time is already 8 seconds, that means there's a guaranteed 4 times you're going to be firing it up in a matter of 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is like the average time of each fight. And that means in 10 seconds, you can fire up his active skill, dealing 1700 damage coefficient 4 times, which is a lot of damage. Trust me, that is a lot of damage. So this officer is definitely an overpowered one. It's a premium officer, and that's why acquiring this officer is not like your usual officers. It's not from the Lucky Wheel, it's not from anywhere else, it's from the new event, which is the exclusive bistro that is gonna happen as well soon. Unfortunately, in this account of this server, we haven't reached yet the amount of days required for that event to actually open, which is 182 days. So once you pass 182 days on your account, or on its server age actually, then you will be able to unlock that event and eventually unlock Saber of Nation, which is gonna appear at 183 days. Some sort of a bummer that this officer is kind of a late game officer, but hey, depending on these status over here, then definitely I understand the fact that this officer has to be an end game officer because of how much power it has. Now, this system over here, as we said, this new event, the exclusive bistro, is going to be available if you want this event, like if you're on a new server and you would like to also participate in this event, if you're excited about it, you can definitely migrate to any server that has passed 182 days, and you'll be able to actually unlock this officer and all other new officers. Because this is kind of a thing that is going to happen from now on. As we know, they're going to be introducing more officers similar to this one, and they will only be unlocked through the exclusive bistro, because that event you can actually change those officers. It's gonna happen 5 days throughout the months. On different days you can basically get exclusive tokens for that event throughout 2 ways. Either you basically purchase the packages, or if you're a free-to-play player, then you can exchange your standard tokens that you have currently in the bistro with those tokens and be able to actually unlock these officers. It will take an immense amount of tokens, or standard ones, to actually get these officers to be awakened. And we have one of my friends also tried to actually awaken this officer early on, and they spent about $1,000 buying all the packages for the exclusive tokens, and they got this officer to about 5443, which means that they would actually still require about $300 to $400 more to actually max this officer out. This is considering that you have to buy all the packages, but if you already have some standard tokens on your hand, then you can transfer those to exclusive ones and try to get this officer. There's a guaranteed chance, so every 10 times that you actually spend this, you'll be able to get this officer, and you'll also get extra rewards when you spend more exclusive tokens. You have to actually play that event to actually understand it fully, but we'll definitely be covering it in a different video when there are more officers introduced in that manner, and we're going to be telling you exactly all the tips and tricks for that event and how to actually do it as a guide. This officer is definitely one of the officers that I do like to play with, and as we said, one of the best pairings is going to be Shevchenko. You can definitely pair this officer with multiple other artillery-based officers, like for example Eruptor or even War Machine, but I definitely see this officer as a best pairing with Shevchenko because it kind of elevates the whole purpose of this officer, which is his tactical skill. Now, activating his tactical skill deals a lot of damage, and if you can increase the damage dealt from that, then definitely, hey, why not? Tell me guys your thoughts in the comments below about this new event and this new kind of introduction to the officers, because as we know, this event kind of requires some more kind of spending, I would say, because it's not easy to require those standard tokens, and the arena became a little bit more important afterwards, because this is the kind of the main source where you can get those beers or tokens or standard tokens for the bistro, where you then can exchange the exclusive tokens. I think if you are on a server that is not actually unlocked this officer yet, I would definitely hold a little bit on my standard tokens. We're definitely going to be using them later on to unlock exclusive officers like this one over here. So let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts about this new whole system and your thoughts about Saber of the Nation, if you do like this officer or not. And if you did like this video, please maybe throw us a like down there and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we will definitely see you on the next video. Bye bye.